Hello everybody, how you doing today? It's Superfiend here, and welcome to another time-lapse excerpt of my Planet Coaster Let's Play series with my theme park, Whacky World. Now, what you're watching here is actually very early footage from the Let's Play series, and what I'm building is one of the very first coasters in one of Whacky World's, well actually the first and only heavily themed area. In the overall design of Whacky World, it is a challenge mode park. So I did have to start the game by building a profitable area, which I call the front park, that has a few rides and coasters to kind of earn profits. And then the rest of the park is kind of like a sandbox series of heavily themed areas. And this footage right here is the very first attraction I started to put down in my Pirate Lost Civilization area. And I thought this was going to be like very quick and easy, and I had really pretty solid ideas about like how this was going to work in my head. And as it turns out, I had a lot of trouble building this coaster, and I actually spent a few episodes, real-time Let's Play episodes in real time building it, and then I ran out of ideas, and I actually started working on another attraction in this same themed area, and that actually turned out to be good, because taking a break from this ride, which I call the Hidden Temple, taking a break from the Hidden Temple and working on another attraction, which was the Lost Gardens, allowed me to develop the overall thematic ideas and layouts and kind of visual representations that would be present in the whole area. So what you can see here is I'm still in the middle of building the coaster station and the queue layout. And I wanted this to be kind of compact, and so I decided that it would be best to build the queue underneath the coaster station. And so that's kind of how I have it set up. And then now the idea in this area is that it's a mishmash hodgepodge between a pirate themed area and a more tropical Lost Civilization area, where the Lost Civilization elements have architecture that resembles a little bit more Aztec and Mayan stuff from Central and South America. So after building kind of like the floor that the queue runs on, I decided to go ahead and add some pillars and build a structure or a ceiling underneath the coaster station. And it took me a while to decide on exactly how tall I wanted it to be. And you can also see that I have a little bit of coaster track layout, the track coming out of the station and the track going into the station, because I needed to see where those elements sat while designing the rest of it. And you can see right now that this early in the design, there are some ideas that are just not working. So for example, you can see there that the floor tiles are intersecting the queue walkway leading up to the coaster station entrance. Now, as I zoom around here and make minor adjustments to the pillars and other things, I'll talk a little bit more about in my head, the way this ride was going to work, the way I thought it would work. I thought that the coaster would leave the station and kind of go up a very moderate lift hill and be just a little bit above the elevation that the coaster station sits at, and then it would travel along some drive tires to like through an ancient civilization plaza or something like that, so they would leave the coaster station, they go up a little bit of a chain lift, and then they would go through some drive tires and like a nice scenic route of the architecture and elements of the Lost Civilization. Now, the more I worked on this ride, the more I disliked that idea. Now, every time I try to use a long section of drive tires to make my rides look scenic and attractive, I always, every single time, end up disliking it and deleting it. I have a hard time with it. And part of that stems from the fact that it really does affect the coaster ratings. Those areas of the ride are not very excitement, so it brings the overall excitement of the ride down. And Whacky World is more than just like a sandbox and trying to build a theme park that's real. I also want the simulation to work too. When I'm done designing everything, I want to be able to turn the simulation on, and I want to see the guests go on everything, and I want the rides to make money. So I'm designing with more than just aesthetics in mind. I do want my rides and my creations to have nice scenery and nice excitement, fear, and nausea ratings. So the more I worked on this ride, the more I realized that the whole drive tire idea wasn't going to work. But going back to that, what I thought was they go up this chain lift, they travel along the drive tires, and they're going to see some of the nice Lost Civilization scenery. And then they'll kind of like, you know, instead of going up a chain lift and then going down a drop, they'll just kind of fall off the drive tires and then travel through what you can see I just put down there is kind of like an over-decorated plaza. It has a few columns, very thick, tall columns around the edges, and then there are some smaller columns of the stacked fairy tale pieces in the middle. Now, part of the problem with that design is that the coaster, well, one, just falling from the small height that I had the drive tires at, it didn't have enough momentum to really do interesting things in terms of track layout. And then the other thing too is with a chain lift, you can always, like if you really need to with a chain lift, you, after designing everything, if you feel that you need just a little bit more excitement in the ride, you can increase the chain lift speed up to like 14 miles per hour. And so let's say you design your whole ride into chain lifts at 5 or 8 or 10 miles per hour, and then when you're all done, you're just shy of like a green excitement rating. Well, if you slide the chain lift speed up to 14 miles per hour, then that could give you that little extra bit of speed that increases the excitement throughout the ride. But going back to the actual footage that you're watching, you can see that I kind of built a simple plaza and I set it down next to the ride. And now I'm just kind of closing off the coaster station with some archways and walls and stuff, and trying to fill it in as if it were part of a lost civilization or an antechamber or something of a temple. Okay. And so now here I am, I'm working on the drive tire element, and you're going to see that like this isn't going to work, and I'm going to actually undo it and go through something else. And the reason I'm showing this footage and the reason I show it in my Let's Play is because the overall ride is actually, it's very good. The finished ride, I'm very happy with it. It looks very fun, it looks exciting, it's very scenic. It's a very nice element to my park. But it took a long time to get it that way. I think I spent over 10 episodes working on this thing. They weren't 10 consecutive episodes, but I, starting from around episode 12 to like maybe episode 18 or 19, like was all just laying out what you see before you. It took a long time to get this thing working. And then I ran out of ideas and I worked on a different area of the park for like maybe 12 or 15 episodes. And then that gave me new, fresh ideas to come back and apply to the Hidden Temple. So there's like a 10 or 15 episode gap in my Let's Play series where I'm just completely ignoring this thing, and you can see it in the background and it's unfinished and it's kind of gaudy. And, you know, it's kind of like this shameful reminder that I have this monstrosity to go back and work on. But then eventually I do come back and I work on it, and the results, for me, they turn out very good and very pleasing. So here is where I had the idea that, okay, so after the drive tires, I did add a little bit of a chain lift, and then they just kind of fall into this plaza. And you can see here that I've, of course, turned off all the collision detection and stuff, because there's no way the game would let me place this track if it was still on. And this plaza, as I said, is over-decorated, and that kind of, that's a strategy I use when designing stuff in this game. If I don't really know what it's going to be like, what I do is I over-decorate everything. So there's way more columns present than I expect to be present in the finished product. But by building it like this, and then running the track through it, then I can go out and take just the columns that I don't need anymore out, and I can leave everything else in place. And so what that does is it really kind of helps to mesh everything together and make it feel as if it's very tight and compact. And for this particular coaster, you know, I want the riders, like if you were to ride this, I want it to feel very perilous and dangerous, like at any minute you're going to crash into something. And so having all this extra scenery and designing it with the collision turned off, and then going back after the fact and removing columns and things that just, you know, don't work anymore, that actually worked out very well as a strategy for designing this. And so you can see, basically, I've got this coaster track. I think this is the Loony Turns coaster. It's one of the first coasters you get. Again, this was a challenge mode park, so I didn't have a lot of coasters to work with. So you can see it winds through all the different columns and pillars in there. and I'm testing it right now to make sure that the track has enough speed and momentum to get through there. And now I'm starting to build kind of like a secondary little hill that actually I'm smoothing things out, but you can see in the back there where the track is unfinished that it's kind of starting to angle up. And the idea with that is as part of the hidden temple, right? This right is the hidden temple. So what do you need for a hidden temple? In my mind, you need like a plaza that's kind of tucked away in the scenery, and so we have the plaza. And then you need like what's actually the temple. So what that little piece of unfinished track is going to go into is going to be like a larger room or chamber that's going to have some more lost civilization archetypes or scenery or themes going on in there. And it really took a while to get there, but again, I'm very happy with the overall effect. And you can see here now I'm laying out a very large floor, and I'm making it large enough to encompass all of the current track that's there. And again, I'm building it so that it's just a little bit shorter than where the drive tires are, because I'm still in my head when I was designing this. I still had this idea that the coaster car would travel along those drive tires through like some pillars or jungle scenery or other stuff. But the more I worked on this, the more it became apparent that that was kind of like flawed. Like, you know, how am I going to work the terrain so that I can put something up there, you know, because it would have to be earth that's up there. So how am I going to draw and fill in all the terrain and stuff to kind of make this believable? And then the other problem I had, which I mentioned already, is that the coaster car didn't have enough momentum and speed to get through all the track and still have good excitement, fear, and nausea ratings. And right here, where you can see the track is kind of going back out of the wall, I thought that the track would kind of swing back around by the coaster station in some way before returning to the actually returning to the coaster station, but the car just doesn't have enough speed to do that. So I changed my design a little bit, and as they come into this chamber, it's just more of like a couple bank turns, and then, you know, that kind of angle back in on each other, and adding a little bit of a kind of like the opposite of a dive loop. You know, they go up and then they invert, they go up so that they're inverted, and then it kind of twists and rights themselves. And then they're going to go out of this chamber here, and then they're going to connect back up to the coaster station. And that was actually the way the layout for this ride was for a long time, until one day I don't remember exactly what I was doing, but I thought, you know, I could add a new twist to this and make the ride elements inside this chamber just a little bit more exciting. And that's quite a bit further in the series when that happens. But you'll see that eventually. Probably not in this video. I think I'm going to need 3 videos total, to time-lapse videos, to cover the construction of this ride. Again, like I said, it took me a long time, and I really struggled with it. And right here, I'm just finally kind of getting the track connected and, you know, forming a closed loop. So then I'll be testing it to see how it performs and it runs, and making minor adjustments. Now, there's really not much more commentary to be made about this footage, so I'll leave you to enjoy the rest of it with some music. If you enjoyed the episode or want to see more videos and stuff like this, then subscribe to the channel or leave a thumbs up or something like that. And if you have any comments or feedback or criticism or questions, that's always welcome around here. So I hope you enjoyed it, and you have yourself a good afternoon.